Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shell. And today we are going to talk about a request that I got in my comments on my religion rant videos. And that is somebody wanted to know about me being raised in a religious cult. So it's going to take a few videos to do this. It's going to take a little while to do it because you got to have the whole story to know how I ended up where I'm at. But so we'll start from the beginning. I was born in San Bernardino, California. Two parents at the time. I have an older sibling, so I got to be the baby of the family. Depending on who you ask in the story, my father left right before I was born or about 6 weeks after. Nobody really quite has the number down. So needless to say, my mom was a single parent. At the time, very poor, we lived on state assistance. But that's not the part I remember about this part of my childhood. I remember it being happy. My first memories were of a happy childhood. We lived in a small apartment in Southern California. It was me, my mom, and my sibling, had a pool. And I just remember having, friends. And my mom she was a good mom. She was a good mom. She wasn't much for yelling or corporal punishment or anything like that. I mean, we knew who was in charge, don't get me wrong. But she was a really good mom. But I think that, I know for sure, being a single mom is hard. And she was scared. And she wanted help raising her two children. And she wanted us to have a dad. So when I was 4, she met my soon-to-be stepfather, and 6 weeks later they got married. And I have a very vague memory of their wedding. I know my mom wore a yellow dress. She looked so beautiful. And my stepfather tried to put the ring on the wrong finger. And they were both laughing. Those are the memories that I have. And my stepfather was a very intelligent man. Very intellectual. He had 2 master's degrees from UCLA. And he owned a home in San Bernardino, nice part of San Bernardino, which was actually nice at the time. And the next thing I knew, we moved into his house and our lives changed drastically. My stepfather was an alcoholic. And for the first time in my sibling and I's lives, we were hit. And I say hit because we were hit. We were abused. He was very abusive. And I was only, at that time, 4 or 5 years old. And the first memory I have of discipline by him was him lifting me up in the air and throwing me across the room onto the couch. And I was so terrified. I was just terrified. But at that time, we went to Calvary Chapel in Riverside, California, was where we went. And I remember that being happy. Church it was fun to go. We went to Sunday school and parents went to, the chapel for their service or whatever. We did that every Sunday and it was, no big deal. Unfortunately, my stepfather had siblings, 5 of them to be exact. And they were all from the Midwest, from Illinois. And that's where he had grown up also. And I don't know the exact ins and outs of it, but the next thing I knew, our lives changed drastically again. And because all of a sudden we stopped going to Calvary Chapel and we started having church, if you will, in my parents' home. And somewhere along the way, they met another couple that had 3 children. That was the only good part about this. And we started listening to cassette tapes. Yes, I said cassette tapes. Don't laugh. Of a man named Hobart Freeman. Hobart Freeman at that time had a church called, they called it the Glory Barn, Faith Assembly in Hobart, Indiana, I believe it was. And we started listening to these tapes of him. And they were hour-long tapes. And my sibling and I, who was very young also, were expected to sit quietly through an hour-long, oh my God, peel your eyeballs back, make you want to fall asleep, start snoring, do anything else, sermon from this Hobart Freeman. And I think I was like 5 at the time. And so my sibling was 8. And we would, would be over and we'd go play with little friends or whatever. And everybody would finally leave. And my stepfather would march my sibling and I up right in front of him and say, "So, what did you learn in church today?" Huh? I'm sorry. What? I learned nothing. I mean, literally learned nothing. And we were expected to stand in front of him and give him an outline of what this Hobart Freeman had preached on this tape. And we were just little kids. So every Sunday we got we got beat on every Sunday for sure. Because we were just little kids. How are we supposed to? Right? And other changes started coming along quick, fast, and in a hurry with this Hobart Freeman tape Sunday church thing. Until that point, we'd had a TV in the house. Nope, that got tossed out. Any medication, vitamins, Band-Aids, hydrogen peroxide, anything that had to do, that could possibly be perceived as medical, gone. Music changed drastically. No longer allowed to listen to anything other than quote unquote gospel music. And the beatings got worse. And life really, really, really sucked. I was like 5 or 6 at the time. And I just remember that at that point in my life, my whole life became fear, stress and fear. My stepfather was very unpredictable. And he changed the rules constantly. He was always moving the goalpost. And so we never knew which direction was up. One day, one thing you might get in trouble for it, and then the next day you might not. You just never knew. And it wasn't too long, maybe about a year after they started having church in their house, that I'm not quite sure again how this came about, but a so-called prophecy from Faith Assembly trickled through the phone line, unfortunately, and ended up in my parents' ears that California was going to have a big old earthquake and it was going to fall into the ocean. And we needed to leave California. So we did. My parents sold everything they had, rented a U-Haul, piled us on, all in with the cat in the summertime, late summer. And we drove from California, Southern California, to Chicago, Illinois. And believe it or not, things actually got worse. Way worse. But anyway, it's late here, guys. I tell you that all the time. I'm over here on the West Coast on some sort of weird schedule. My daughter, lovely woman that she is, works strange hours. So we're all a little bit on a weird schedule. So I'm gonna leave it right there. It's a much longer story. It gets more in depth. And I think I'll post another one tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, thanks for being here. I'm glad everybody came and listened to me ramble on. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care of yourselves. Much love.